Hell yeah.
You're the original crowd work guy.
Oh, thank you. Well, I mean, Don Rickles probably.
100%. Here's the thing you got to
He's like the black rock and roll. He's like Chuck Berry.
Right.
And like all these other guys are like Elvis.
Right.
I find it more fun, but what it came from genuinely was like not kind of like popping like on the road. I just couldn't get the road. The road changed like in my career at some point. It was like when I started going with Attell all the time, he was sort of like, yeah, you come with me to these clubs, you have an hour ready to go. He goes, and then you'll start headlining. And then I'd go call these clubs and they go, do you sell any tickets? And you go, no. No one knows who I am. So they wouldn't. So I was like, I thought it was great. I mean, it was my job essentially was to Cellar every night, was going there. And I was going after the best joke writers. You know, I was always after Attell pretty much. And these guys who were just killing. So I just did that because also like.
You did crowd work, yeah.
There's a comic, and we all know who I'm talking about, but never changed their act very much. And I would see the staff.
I think we all know who you're talking about.
We all do.
Yeah.
When the staff would like see them shitting on that or rolling their eyes and mouthing the words of his joke he's closing with again, like I was like, oh no, that's like I just don't want them, because also I know they're very friendly with the same guy. They're kind of like mocking while he's on stage.
Sure.
And I'm like, I don't want him doing that to me, like shit talking me. So I just tried to do that to like do something different at the end of the night, because I was going like 2:30 in the morning.
Yeah, I remember.
That was also the Cellar at that point was still being barked in. It was like one show going continuous. So like when I'd be going on at 2 o'clock in the morning, it wasn't people that were there since midnight that are still like stoked for it. Some of them were there since 9, or some people just came in.
Right.
It was like rotating constantly. So
yeah,
like
because
25 people there.
Because the Comedy Cellar now is expanded. If you know comedy, like to 4 clubs. There's a bunch of comedians there. But I remember even I first got in there in like the end of 2013, and it was still it was multiple shows, but it was still like you were still the guy, like you closed every show.
Yeah,
like you were just the guy who was there. The late night one, closed them. And I remember Dan Soder got in a little bit before me, but before Dan Soder, you were like nobody. They weren't just like letting everybody in. It was like you guys were pretty much like the same lineup.
Go through. And you could like not get in on the process too, and it was like over.
Yeah.
Tom McCaffrey, I remember, had a rough audition. Very funny guy. Had a rough audition.
I think I had a rough audition. I just never tried again.
Dave Smith had a rough audition.
Yeah.
When I got him,
Louis Gomez was in for a little bit.
She stopped, but she's a lunatic. I could talk about her for hours.
Yeah.
About how awful I think she is, but she. Yeah, and then the comeback around is even like when people accept it, it gets me annoyed. Like Nate, the fact that Nate comes in and does the Cellar, I get it. I get completely why he would do it, but I'm just like, dude, you got in here before this stuff popped, and then after a month or two, she just stopped working because she was like, nah, I don't get it. It's not my thing, and it's like,
so you don't do the Cellar at all anymore?
Now when she was, no, it's more time than anything else. Like I just don't have really time to do it. I'm on the road every weekend, and then I'm broadcasting 13 hours in 3 days every week.
So you're saying she didn't let him in, and then now that he's huge, she's like letting him in.
Well, she let him in, and then was like stopped work, just took the phase out.
Right.
Like, he's not really catching here.
Yeah.
And then when he comes back in town, she's like, oh, Nate. You're like, shut the fuck up, lady.
Yeah.
Front run.
I know. It's one of those things where like, the from like years and years and years, like at the Comedy Cellar, is it does still have, people say, oh, it's just a room, and I get that, but it is still that thing where it's like, I remember like when you were there and I remember one time vividly, I was up sitting at the table, I was brand new, you weren't closing the show, you were going like, for some reason, I don't know why, like maybe 3rd or 4th, and I was closing the show, I was going on at like 12:55, and you were just like annihilating, and I remember going down there and watching, and you were just doing it so chill, sitting on the stool, just ripping people apart. And I remember telling myself, like, I'm gonna bomb. And I went out there and was like, trying to imitate my dad and Puerto Ricans, and it was just bombing. But I remember then saying to myself, oh, maybe I should do the crowd like Jay does, and then try to do that, and that bombed. And it gave me so much respect. I remember that moment where I was like, oh, not like you can't just do crowd. I think sometimes people think that now because of how big crowd work has become. Oh, they just think, oh, anybody could do it. It's like, no. A lot of people try to do it. And a lot of people just suck at it. You're excellent.
I think all funny, like comics that are funny, can do it. Because I've had to give that Pep's talk so many times when I do the show where I have everybody do crowd work. Is like, no, it's like you never. It was almost Patrice advice he gave me, kind of like reworded almost, but like you were funny around your friends. That's why you decided to do comedy, and like you never overthought that. You just kind of were. So it was like if you tapped into that kind of level of comfort on stage, like it would come to you like that fast, and you can kind of do it. Same way I just did it so much. The Cellar was such an interesting thing because especially that stage. If I went on that stage right now, it would feel so foreign to me that I'd probably have a little like almost nerves to it and stuff. Whereas the time you're talking about, I was there. Like I said, I was never on the road except with a tell, and I had like 3-4 clubs in the country that would like headline me here and there. But that was really it. So I was there 7 days a week almost at a point. So that room was so comfortable to me.
Oh yeah.
Like it was just going to go. If they were like, "Hey, can you go up in 3 seconds?" Like, yes.
Yeah.
What do you need me to do? 2 hours?
Right there.
Yeah.
Because you just know the place so much, like inside and out. So that was super comfortable there.
Yeah.
It was a great place to develop it, I guess, because like, it makes it like not so scary to do. But it could definitely go haywire. I mean, that was Denver. I did the specials in, which like bagged phones, everyone's facing forward.
Comedy Works, was it?
Yeah, it's like set up to win.
It's the best. That
This weekend again.
That's where they did Skanks for the Memories too. One of the best albums ever.
Yeah.
Tell Skanks. I think Comedy Works Denver. I think is. I mean, if it's the best or definitely top 3.
It's in the conversation always for best because like just that. I love that American Comedy Company in San Diego. I love.
Good.
Yeah.
Yep.
I know some people don't like it. There's the owner like is divisive with people. I love that too, and that's a funny thing. It's a funny conversation to have almost. Is like there's so many people because Esty, as we say, Esty is a great example. I do the show with Bobby. We do the Bonfire. Bobby Kelly. Bobby Kelly loves Esty because Esty loves Bob. You know what I mean? They've had this history that kind of goes.
Right.
It's always like been that, and I fully get that. The lady who ran Broad Ripple.
Oh my God, Ruth.
People were like, "Yo, she's a vicious, mean, terrible lady," and I've seen her be vicious and mean to her own staff and stuff. Something about me, she just liked me, so you're like, man, she liked me, so I think she's great. Like, all those weird people like that.
We're all each other's angels and demons.
Yeah,
That's what it is,
Wild.
man.